So following the weekend's games, the latest World Rugby Rankings are out. There's a lot of movement on the board. Some of it pretty encouraging and some of it a wee bit concerning. The All Blacks are kind of ever present in that #1 spot, although based on kind of recent performances, they've put in a few good minutes where they've looked that kind of beast of a team. And then there's been a whole lot of minutes which have been okay and somewhat disappointing. But you got to think that the All Blacks are going to raise their game when put under more pressure. That last game against France, where France only had 14 men, they really seemed to just kind of take their foot off the gas. So not reading too much into that, but if I was a non-All Black fan, I'd be looking at the All Blacks and saying there are certainly some chinks in their armour. Ireland, a wee bit behind the All Blacks on the ratings, but well ahead of third. Got their tour back on track with a big win over Australia. Not a big win in terms of points, but a big win in terms of dominance of that game. There's still a gap between their top guys and their backup guys, which is normal. I mean, that's why the top guys are your top guys. But going into 2019, if I was an Irish fan, I would just keep my fingers crossed that the top guys stay fit. Because if one of the key guys goes down before the World Cup, that could affect their chances. Third is Wales, who have made a big jump up from 5th. What a tour for them. They played the backup guys and got the wins, so the best of both worlds. That's a whole bunch more guys who've got experience at the top level, abroad as well, in a pretty hostile environment at sometimes. And yeah, they put their hands up. So in terms of that World Cup thinking, you feel like if the Welsh team has some guys go down, you've got backups who are ready and willing and experienced to step up. Guys who have been given that #1 job before and told go out and win the game, and they've done it. So they've been there and done that. Not quite the same as the World Cup stage, but yeah, it really bodes pretty well. The Wallabies are down after that loss to Ireland. A good win and then a disappointing loss. I have to wonder how their performance levels were affected by the Irish changes. They weren't really allowed to kind of get a lot of ball to do any of their thing. Whether Checker can kind of counter what the Irish are doing this week kind of remains to be seen. The selections will be the first clue into what he's thinking. But yeah, for the minute, that was just a disappointing performance last week after the highs of the week before. South African fans will be a bit happier that their team is climbing, because 7th that they were in last week kind of doesn't seem fitting of the Springboks. I'm sure they're not going to be happy with 5th. They'll kind of want to keep this going up, but that's 2 from 2. I said it last week and I'll say it again. Bringing that feel-good factor back to South African rugby is a big job for Rassie Erasmus, and it's starting pretty well. We'll see if it can continue this week. Whether he rings the changes or not is another one, because that series is in the bag for the Boks. Talk is that England are not going to want to change things up too much, so whether Rassie does, will be an interesting selection. England, 6th, down from 4th. They were 2nd at the start of the year, and they have just plummeted like a stone. Yeah, concerning stuff. I've said it in some of the comments that, I mean, if they can get a successful World Cup run, this is not going to matter, but this was not part of the plan. So it's concerning. There are some areas that need addressing, and I mean, sure, they've got some players out, but there's some pretty young players in that Springboks team as well. So yeah, that's twice they've blown a lead and need to kind of, I guess, get their focus on for this game 3, because although it's a dead rubber in terms of the series, in terms of all the talk about Eddie Jones and his relationship with the team and the team's kind of mindset and all that stuff, that would help to at least get that out of the news for a week or two if they were to get a win. And Scotland, after kind of sitting pretty at 6th and looking up, have then gone and lost to the USA. Although it was their B team, don't lose to USA. But I only saw the highlights of that one. I didn't manage to see the whole game. It wasn't covered where I am. But Yeah, had a chance to win it right at the end. Lost it. I guess if you're blooding young guys, it's good to give them some experience, but losing to the USA is not that helpful. So yeah, we'll see how they go against Argentina, who have been in some pretty poor form of their own. I guess if nothing else, that spices up that clash a little bit because both teams will be looking to rectify recent results. Past 7th, you've still got France in 8th who don't move, although they did have their under-20s have a good win, so there's a bit of feel-good for the French as well. Fiji are still in 9th despite winning the Pacific Nations Cup. It doesn't do anything for their ranking. Argentina are in 10th and been pretty disappointing. They are only very marginally ahead of Japan in 11th. You got Georgia 12th. Italy got a win, so over Japan they're in 13th, up 1. Tonga 14th, and USA, despite that win over Scotland, stay in 15th. So yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers themselves, New Zealand are kind of on their own. Then Ireland's got a gap between them, above them and below them. There's a bit of a cluster between 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then Scotland dropped a couple of points against with that result against America, so they'll need a big result against Argentina to kind of make that up. But yeah, I still feel like, given the right situation, most of these teams would be able to challenge each other. I mean, you look at that Northern Tour last year, Scotland pushed the All Blacks pretty close. Australia didn't have a very good run, and they were in third last week. So yeah. What do you guys reckon about the rankings? Still one more week of tests to go, so they're probably still going to shuffle around a bit more. But yeah, how well do you think this reflects team strengths going into World Cup? Do you think Ireland, New Zealand is the big matchup? I mean, that top Irish team, like I said, looks pretty good. But yeah, I can hardly call Wales a dark horse anymore now that they're in third. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.